This conference will now be recorded.
And now I'd like to open the meeting of the Ennis Town Commission on June 27th, 6:15 with a roll call of the council. Mr. Abernathy is absent this evening. Mr. Way? Here. Mrs. Hankins? Here. Mrs. Palmerton? Here. And Mr. Hardy? Here. All right, if we'd all stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item of business is public comment on non-agenda items.
You're good.
Okay, Myron Walmo, Ennis, Montana. I came across this undated document referencing fiscal year 2022. Double checking the report states that violating state law, the town overspent its budget in the planning and health insurance areas. The report is scary to say the least. The concern lies with the failings of this past year. How would a complete audit show the financial stability of this community? Which leads to questions. Does the town of Ennis still have the vehicle insurance that the taxpayers can afford? Selling a road grader for pennies when it could have been repaired for a couple $1,000s and more. Failings of the leadership and the accountability for this community are abominable. Traveling down this road with the same personnel is equivalent to purchasing a ticket on the Titanic. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Myron.
Lisa Roberts. My public comment is just that I would like to see a public meeting to review this year's audits and previous audits, but this year in depth, going back to 2022, or actually to step back a little bit, there was an article, or I don't even know what this was, something that was brought to my attention. And so I wanted to do some fact checking about this that was circulated online. And for this year's, or excuse me, 2022 audit, there was some findings with expenditure budget overspent, bidding, where the town didn't comply with state code on bidding, and on bank reconciliations. And then in the response to Daniil, I guess after those findings come out, the state sends a letter that says, how are you going to handle these items? It's called a corrective action plan for the year 2022. I was surprised to see that, there's this thing, or at least in one of these, that overtime was approved to get the cash reconciliation done. And cash reconciliation, according to the Department of Administration, is a basic tenet of the job. And so I don't think that should be awarded with overtime to fulfill a basic principle of the job. But again, I would like to see a full meeting to go over the findings of this year's budget, or excuse me, this year's audit, which cost the town 50% more than the contracted price. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Anything from online for public comment on non-agenda items?
Hi, Karina Christensen reporting for the Lions Club. And just a quick update, we have a mock-up of the new sign for the Ennis Lions Park, and the entry sign, and we will be getting that to you in the next week for approval, and then we'll move forward. Other than that, it's business as usual for the Lions.
Thank you, Karina.
You bet.
Signing out. All right, last call for public comment on non-agenda items. All right, moving on to the major site plan review that falls within the traditional neighborhood district overlay, or the TND, of the town of Ennis, the Ennis town's Ennis zoning code. Willie's Distillery submitted a zone site permit application to allow for addition of a boiler room. It's proposed to be 10 by 15 and is located within the incorporated limits within the town of Ennis. We have the full street property address located at 3112 East Main and legally described as Block 1, lots 12 and 13. and the east 30 feet of the north 170 feet of lot 10 and the north 170 feet of lot 11, Chowning Addition, section 33, G5SR1W. So you have Forrest's original staff report that was presented to the planning board originally on June 11th. And then they tabled for additional information that was provided, and a second hearing was held June 20th. And the recommendations of the planning board are before you. Would you like to present the project as the planning board appointment from commission is not available?
Go ahead, Cassie.
Evening, everybody. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm the facilities manager at Willie's Distillery. And the project that we presented is a 10 by 15 boiler room on the back side of the existing production office area. Not seen from street view, not seen by the public. Simply a small addition to house new boilers to help with upcoming production needs. Upgrading the existing boilers that's 14 years old. So putting new boilers in place, so obviously upgrade our system that we have now, as well as provide for additional production needs.
Perfect. Public comment on Willie's submission for T&D.
So it's on the back side of the office, so it's front property.
Not the front, from the back.
Back.
68.
How many feet?
Let me look.
It's right here.
Our whole property is 170 feet, and the front office is 25 feet deep, so we're talking 120 feet off the back property line.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from public on major site plan review T&D for Willie's? Last call. All right. Yes, they did. As part of their minutes. So to the council. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the major site review within the traditional neighborhood district overlay and include the planning board recommendations and our on-call planners recommendations.
I'll second that for the record.
All right, discussion? Anything from the council?
So the developer shall prepare and enter into a T&D agreement acceptable to the town. Have you received that yet?
The T&D is a draft, and it's usually in draft until you approve it. As far as we've flowed with the pattern before. And the T&D always just states the same as the motion for the recommendations from the planner or the conditions from the planner and the planning board.
Commissioner Palmerton.
I was not here when Willie's initially asked to be placed where they are, but I did bring it up with Art. And technically, it's a manufacturing business that never should have been placed in it never should have been placed in a residential area because of the explosive nature of what you produce. And I was very offended when Art compared me manufacturing a burger to you manufacturing combustible products. So I'm probably going to tell you right now I'm not going to approve.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Matt Malugin, General Manager at Release. I provided a little bit more information at the Planning Commission meeting that may be pertinent here. Our plan is to build an additional boiler room to upgrade the equipment that is failing. We will need to upgrade that equipment at some point. The best and safest way to do that is to bring it off the building like we have planned and make those upgrades. So whether we get the permit for that or not, we will need to upgrade the existing boiler in that facility. So I just want to clear that.
I appreciate that, Matt.
Other discussion? All right, calling the vote then.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion carries, and we will prepare the T&D agreement. Next is a school resource committee appointment. I would like to appoint with approval of the council, Mr. Way and Mr. Hardy to this assignment, if they are agreeable.
Sure. So this is, to be clear, we're appointing a committee to finalize and negotiate the contract for the school resource officer, correct?
I think that it depends on the next attorney opinion on it, of a definition of MOUs versus contract. And the cops from the Department of Justice packet that you provided, it says very much MOUs. They're typically how they are established, for the reason that it is a duty assignment. Does that make sense?
Go on.
So, first thing I think would be an assignment from that committee is to have it reviewed by legal as to contract or MOU.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does this coincide with what we've just gone through? Police is going to be resource officer.
I'm not sure I understand your question, sir.
It's a school resource committee.
Mhm.
Okay, now, who is the resource officer that is
At the school?
potentially, yes?
Historically, it has been our chief of police, Mr. Moore.
Right. So now isn't that a conflict of interest between the duties of the chief of police and the resource officer? Shouldn't that be separate? Or if it's going to be combined, reduce the school or the police budget to offset the time, or if he's gonna put in 40 hours at the school, 40 hours on the road. I mean, $200,000 budget for police, for a school resource officer, and me being a taxpayer, I don't like those numbers, especially when it comes down to my paycheck.
I hear what you're saying. I agree with a good portion of what you're saying. I'm not sure if it's a conflict of interest. I think lots of towns have police officer, at the school as a school resource officer, part-time, and I don't think this would be a full-time position for Mr. Moore.
But it's, okay, most towns have more than one police.
Correct.
Okay, so now we have one that's going to the resource and police. That's kind of a, you're pulling both ends there.
I agree with you. We'll get it figured out.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
If I may, my name is Lisa Roberts for the record. And I think what I'm hearing is basically whether or not it is the commission's ability to have an MOU or a contract. Historically, it's been a collaborative effort between the legislative branch, the commission, and the mayor on those. When I was a commissioner, I remember reviewing several MOUs, one including use of the school parking lot for a farmer's market. If any of you were able to be at the school board meeting where this was brought up, it was very decisive, and there was almost a lecture from Chief Moore about what, the duties of the commission are and what the duties of the mayor are in that regard. And having, making that the mayor is the only one in charge of employees. And that may be so designed by our charter. I do have to say, with great power, as they say, comes great responsibility. And you can't pick and choose the duties to which you are going to exercise. One of those being in the audit, we are finding there are several failings of this administration to hold employees accountable. Another one of the duties here, done by Montana Code Annotated 754102, is cause to be presented once in 3 months. A full statement of financial condition of the city or town is to be conducted. That's never happened. So picking and choosing which duties you're going to do and which ones you aren't based on your personal agenda is something that I don't agree with. I think it needs to be more of a collaborative effort so we don't have this push and pull from the commission to the town, because ultimately it is the town commission that decides the budget. So that is one of their legislative duties. So that is what I would like to see. I would also like to see, if she's open to it, Nikki Hankins on this committee, as she is the only parent on the commission with children in school.
Lisa?
Yeah.
What was that MCA you quoted?
It's
Montana Code 7-5-102, right?
Yes, 7-5-4102, powers and duties of mayor related to the administration and executive function.
Thank you.
I just want to go back and read it.
Yeah, you bet.
Can I ask Lisa a question?
Yes.
What would you recommend, or do you have, anytime there's a topic that somebody has an issue with, I like it when somebody comes up with or offers a solution for it. So other than doing a 2-person committee, is there something else you would recommend doing?
No, I think that is a good format to make sure that the commission's, concerns and issues with this very important MOU. I mean, I know people are like, oh, it's just a duty and I get to, formulate the contract or MOU as I see fit. But, we're in a small town and I think a collaborative effort and would be helpful. So I think the committee is just fine if then the recommendation from the committee is, properly either followed or
Presented to the commission
yeah,
as a whole.
presented to the commission as a whole, and then you can vote on it and make a formal recommendation. So then that way, the school board was doing the same. They have a little bit different setup with, they have, the superintendent who's an employee. We don't have a town manager situation. But, we work better together when we're all on the same page instead of fighting amongst ourselves. Thank you. And for the record, I think the town of Ennis shouldering the burden solely for the district's school resource officer is a mistake. It should, if the school wants a school resource officer, the district should pay for it. It should not be upon the town taxpayers.
Ms. Roberts, may I ask, sorry. May I ask you one more question?
Sure.
So while you were on the council, the previous MOU was
Yeah.
signed, correct?
Yeah, it came through the town commission.
Was the one before that as well? Because
I
that
believe
was
so.
a 1 year.
I believe so. I think it, because it was presented to the commission at that time. So, I mean, we have to go through, I don't know if there was a vote on it or what. It was a fairly new program that was introduced and spearheaded by Chief Moore, but now it has evolved into something more that now Ennis taxpayers provide the school district with 600 hours of law enforcement services, shouldered only by the taxpayers of the town of Ennis. So I think it has morphed into something more than when it originally started.
It's kind of like a park in a way. I mean, we have the Lions Club Park and we shoulder the Lions Club Park along with the Lions Club and all of the other town parks because there's not a lot of county resources or county availability other than the golf course. So there's always that to consider in how.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of a regional wide parks district too. So it helps spread that burden across all users.
All right. Any other discussion from the floor?
Carla Smith. No disrespect to you or Corey, but aren't you two also on the committee for the MOU for the sheriff's department? And where are we with that? So is it going to take that long to create this for the SRO?
Is Corey on the committee? No.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. Losing my mind today. Too much sun.
The last committee assignments were Ms. Hankins and Ms. Palmerton for legal. I'm rotating through. Mr. Abernathy's not here tonight, so I kind of feel like I know at other meetings when you miss the meeting, you get assigned to things that you don't agree to. But without him being in the room, I don't think it's appropriate to assign him to something or ask him. So.
Well, this would be a mix of John and if he's open, and Nikki if she's open. I think having a parent.
And as they attended the last the last board meeting, you were both present. I would feel more comfortable with the two of you. That's my own that's my personal opinion, not.
I'd be willing to do it with Commissioner Way.
But it is Nicole's.
No, it's my appointment with your approval.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's definitely a hold up for me. I've very intentionally skipped out on school board meetings because
You've got taxes to worry about.
yeah, yep, I'm talking right now. Thanks. Yeah, I've put a lot of thought into attending school board meetings, but they're not something, I don't have a kid and I haven't spent a lot of time around children. I can't speak to how valuable the SRO position is here. I know Whitefish has 2 of them. I guess in my own personal opinion, if you want to hear that, I think it's, I think parents are failing in a lot of regards in society as far as raising their kids, and their kids can do no wrong. So having an SRO up at the high school is, I think, valuable in my own personal opinion. So, but yeah, I would prefer, someone who does have children to be on that committee. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say.
I would be willing to be a part of that committee.
All right, I'm looking for the recommendations that were in the Department of Justice packet. There was review and best policy. There was also recommendations for committee. At least I may have read that once. And it had more than council, or how would I put that? It didn't say the legislative body. It said multiples.
Yes, you can include individuals from the community to be on the committee.
Is anybody else finding it faster than me in that statement?
No, I just know I've read it.
Did I read it? Did you remember it? Or maybe I read it somewhere else.
It doesn't specify in the town charter. It just says that you get to appoint committees. It doesn't say where it has to come from.
The links. So Corey, you would like to have Miss Hankins take your position.
I think that'd be fine.
All right, I will change my appointment then, with Corey's recommendation, to Miss Hankins and Mr. Way.
Copy that.
If you were.
I make a motion to approve that.
Okay. Any other further discussion?
And when do you want this back? When do you expect this?
I think we should have a meeting next week, early next week. Oh, it's the 4th of July week. If you would like to, I can still do Tuesday.
No,
I have a new superintendent starting.
Yeah.
So
Mayor Huss,
have this complete. When's the next school board meeting? Is it
July 15th, there is one.
July 16th?
July 15th.
15th. And they have a strategic planning session before that.
Okay, do they meet on Mondays?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the second Monday.
Yeah.
The school board hasn't been meeting extremely regularly, but they have a strategic planning meeting on July 10th, and they have a regular meeting on July 15th.
And when's our next scheduled meeting here? Does anybody know right off the top of their head?
12,
12, okay.
I think.
11th. So we'll have it before the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want.
All right.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
I need a second.
Oh, that's true.
I made a motion.
I'll second it for the record.
All right.
Aye.
Any other discussion before I say it? You said aye.
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 All right, moving on to the attorney contract. So option one is to have Mr. Guza take over everything in force. I printed it so that we had it 474604 minus
7-4-4602.
no.
Oh,
Number
oh,
one.
yeah.
Number one says appear before the city court and other courts and prosecute on behalf of the city. So his firm does not do all of it. He then made a recommendation for Sam Bovee, I don't know, as the prosecuting attorney. So you would actually have not one contract, but then two. I did ask the contract committee to clarify with Mr. Guza two items that I found in other contracts that I thought would be important in reviewing any contract. Number one being, and again, if you had legal, I would know the answer to this, clarifying employment, I guess is how you would put it. Where else does he quote? 74602 is in Mr. Guza's contract as well, proposed contract. And for discussion, my discussion point on this, didn't you reach out to Mr. Guza, Ms. Hankins?
Mhm.
And was he amendable to adding an independent attorney
Yes.
and the insurance portion?
Yes.
I didn't receive any update from the committee on that after.
Well, I thought we were supposed to schedule another meeting prior to this. That's what you said in the last meeting. That's fine.
You wanted this on the agenda for this evening, so.
If we were gonna have a meeting. for that, but-
So if he's amendable to those,
Mhm.
there's that option. That was how it's written in 4602. It's an appointment. It describes the appointment, but how it was under the section, it seemed unclear to me, contractor versus employee. So now if Mr. Guza is amendable to the independent attorney, I see no other issues with that contract. It was in Shoto's, it was in Troy's contract, multiple other contracts that we reviewed had clarification of independent attorney or contractor. And then with all contractors, we always have them carry their own liability insurance if they're working on the town system or anything else. So there's that. Then you have all of the last 3 years of financials for Mr. Greenbaum's and his proposal as well. In my best estimate, we will have to increase legal by about 20,000 to go with Mr. Guza and Mr. Bovee. Based on last year's numbers from Boulder, which Mr. Guza works for, his total there was 34,471.58.
But it's not accurate for, and it's actually Sam Martin is the prosecutor's name. And how can we really have an exact estimate when I've been told, I'm not sure, you haven't communicated it with me, but they can attend virtually now?
Let
To
me
a point, there's an
point,
exception I've heard. I don't know.
clarify that.
Mhm.
When Jordan's in court for, how did she call it? Like the basic stuff day to day, they can attend online. If there is a change of plea, a trial, they must be in person, which makes sense. And it's not only that, it's also the discovery process and delivering of discovery will be more. And I don't know the drive time, but I'm just taking the 20,000 from Mr. Greenbaum's for prosecution, right? My worksheets. They were in your packet as well.
Fixed flat rate at fixed flat rate of $2,400 for prosecuting the town code violation of offenses.
What do you mean that? Other one?
So from our worksheets, 2,200 on prosecution, and then for this year, this fiscal year, and then an additional 14,321. So what I did was that 14,321 would be what I would approximate the same amount of work next year. And I guess I could have broken down boulders more clearly.
Like also contracts with Mr. Visa, they budgeted $30,000 and spent $27,000 this year. And they went through a lot of their ordinances this year, and a lot of things that he had to work on.
That's 13, and that's a 20. So I guess that's a very much unknown in my how to calculate for budget, but it's not like we haven't done additions before. If you look the year before that, that's why I included that one as well, as there was still Warden Thane under contract for another matter, and those numbers that you can see that year is clearly higher. That's the 37,000.
Yeah.
So that attorney, well, that was at a considerably higher rate than either any of these contracts actually. So,
Yeah, what was his name again? Morgan Thane?
Warden.
Warden Thane was
Warden
the
Thane. Yeah,
legal
that one.
firm. Sean Morris was the attorney at the time. So, if in contracts, it's clear that they are an independent attorney carrying their own insurance, and we have a good feeling for the financials. I still think it's going to be more. I could be wrong, and that's why I included Thanes in there, because there's no clear prediction in legal.
What's the recommendation from you two? You guys are on the committee.
Yes.
You've done more research on this than anybody.
Yes.
What's your recommendation?
Okay, so I've gone through all of the contracts. This is my recommendation. I don't really care either way. This is what I got. I want to strike from Ed Guzman's at the beginning of his MCA 7-4-4602. I do not want them to be town employees. I want them to be contracted individuals. I want them to carry their own insurance. I want to in their own contract, set parameters for termination. I would like to cap our expenditures for legal. And here it says other agreed upon legal services. I would like to define those under scope and role, such as things as written reports, and with Jordan Allhand's recommendations that they be in attendance for trial and change of plea.
When I spoke with Jordan, she said, don't include when you don't have to be in there, because if at some point she has a substitute judge, they may act as the same, they may follow the same guidelines that she does, but they do not have to. It's their court if they're substituting. So that's not going to go well for our prosecutor in front of the judge if they're like, well, my contract said. They're going to be like, I don't care. It's pretty much my court. And so we can say that's the general expectation, but not the rule, and it shouldn't be included in the contract.
But I do have my notes here, John, if you would like to read them. I did do a lot of homework.
And I didn't notice the other agreed upon services that are undefined until Monday. And I was legal jargon that if you don't pick over it, I just don't know what other has not
agreed
outlined
upon
would be.
legal services, I think, would fall under scope and role as to. I would prefer written reports versus verbal reports because it gets time consuming, especially when attorneys really like to talk.
They get paid by the word.
Yep. All other department heads kind of have to do that. So I can read something and ask questions if I have questions.
Nikki, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think she covered it.
So how about, do you know what Virginia City's budget was or what they used for attorney services, which is also,
They don't use much. He does not do a lot of work with them, only as requested from the mayor, and it's not very frequent. So it's not a good
comparison?
Yeah.
So what are our options right now? We're gonna present like 3 of them.
So you could go with
We can
Guza and Sam Martin, or Bovie and Martin as one option. You may go with
James Greenbaum
solely as one option, or you may go with Guza as the civil, and then Mr. Greenbaum as the prosecuting attorney.
So can we refer to those as option 1, option 2, and option 3?
Yes, ABC.
What's the recommendation of the committee? There's 3 options here. What's your recommendation?
I recommend number 1.
I concur.
Okay.
I just feel like option number 2 is not necessarily have represented the town very. I don't think he fits.
I'm up for option either A or like A or
One
or 2.
one or
3.
Those are my recommendations. A or 3. A or 1 or 3, whatever that is.
Well, you guys should.
I really think, option, I say give Ed Guzman a shot. I'd like to see.
Well, as the committee, you should make a motion on what your recommendation is and we can discuss it.
I make a motion to approve of Ed Guza and
Sam Martin Bovie.
And Deli Bovie, Martin, and Reed for
Option 1.
prosecution.
Option one.
Option 1.
Okay.
That is my
Or
recommendation.
A.
Option A.
I'll second that motion for discussion.
Okay.
Financial concerns if we are in that.
I mean, that's how Ed explained it to me. The good thing, instead of having a flat rate and being charged hourly, is we tell him how much we want him to spend.
So that's the portion that,
Cap the expenditures for legal.
Yeah.
so I provided you with additional from Shoto for Hindoin, and it doesn't say by council, but that would be how I'd recommend, is just add that in there where it says, this is the cap for the month. Anything over that needs to be approved by council.
I
They
would
said it
concur
is
with that.
1,500, whatever recommendation the council makes for that. That's why I highlighted that in there.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes.
I'd just like to say and make a comment that whichever firm or attorney is contracted to be not make frivolous, unnecessary actions, but get a town commission approval, authorization before making letters, requests for papers, so on and so forth, that cost the taxpayers money, unnecessary taxpayers expenditures that are not necessary because they fall on who knows what goes on behind that until after the fact. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the name of the firm in option 1 or the attorney?
It will be two firms. Ed Guza. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Because I can slaughter that name again.
Secondly, has anyone on the commission ever had or currently have representation from either of these firms?
No.
Never had an attorney. Never been in trouble. Like I said, I still would like to strike MCA 7-4-4602 from Guza and the Ed Bovee contract.
I don't know if you need to strike it because it is part of Montana code, and I don't know if you supersede it. I just think having the independent contractor clause
Okay,
and
if
those
we can
would
put
be
that in there, I would like
sufficient
that.
to meet your concerns, my concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the condition that you put in there, independent attorney. It is understood that the attorney is an independent attorney and is not an employee of the city, as the Troy contract describes.
And the insurance as well from the Troy.
Yes, I
is
would
very
like
similar.
that as well.
I think it clarifies there.
And I'm not.
What you making that face? You rolled
No,
your eyes.
I want to go back and read it.
I just see it as a contractor. If we have somebody working on our public water system, we require that contractor to have.
And I would also like to include James Greenbaum's the termination clause that this agreement may be terminated early without default or penalty so long as the terminating party under James Greenbaum's section 9. Would you like me to?
Termination clause.
Yes, I would like a termination clause in the contract with Ed Guzman and the other one.
So I guess while we're discussing, me personally, I'm an option 3 guy. James Greenbaum has represented the town in some pretty volatile capacities, and I have appreciated him in the past. And I think if he were to represent the town, as far as our prosecutor, and then we have fresh new attorney representation, I don't honestly, that appeals to me personally.
The motion's for option 1.
I know,
Yeah.
we're just discussing though.
Mhm.
So
This option 2, can I ask a question about his contract price? Would then it be a stipend price or a set price for prosecution
yes,
instead of the hourly?
yes, it would be the flat 2,400. Or yes,
So it's paying more for.
prosecution than previously. Yes. Which I asked what the average week is. If you actually averaged the weeks for prosecution, the answer from Mr. Greenbaum is about 10. He said, but that's an overall average. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes it's 40. It depends on the week and it depends on the cases. And so that's an unpredictable. If it's speeding tickets versus a DUI, it's different. And I think we had a lot more cases when we had 2 officers. I mean, our numbers were just up a ton when we had both officers in full swing.
I'm good with 1 or 3, so call the question. Let's see how the votes fall.
All right, Palmerton.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I should have made a point of clarification because of Brandy's recommendation. Because we said yes to contract attorney, yes to insurance, and then the termination clause. But you also mentioned, and that was my concern, was the
Capping monthly expenditure.
Capping
With-
expenditures for legal.
with review of counsel for overtures.
Are we all?
Would you like to make another
Are we
motion to
all
put that
in
into the contract?
I move that we, the preceding motion included the additions that Mayor has suggested.
All right, I will contact both of those attorneys and their firms and clarify with those. And upon their approval of those conditions, I will execute the contract.
Do we want to add in define other agreed upon legal services?
Okay, I add that.
I don't know. I don't really care.
I'm not worried about that one.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't see it in any of the other contracts.
Yeah, I've
But
never
I
seen it
think
either.
you
I'm
could-
either going, I don't know.
You have a different opinion every time you have a different attorney. So you have a different contract depending on their style.
All right.
All right, unscheduled matters for July 11th. Is that what we said?
Yep.
You have everything.
I guess regarding food trucks, I've kind of been working on that a little bit with a couple of businesses, but I feel like there's definitely some more research to do with outreach and where the community's at as far as who's pro food truck, anti food truck, and where their conflicting interests are at. So, but probably for August.
August, not July.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Well, we're talking about July 11th, but
It's
I'm
gonna take a
asking
while.
for a little bit more time.
Okay.
So I was just throwing it
So
out there.
August meeting, Corey's requesting, and that might be something as we get information. We work session. I know in the first year that the three of us were here and you were here for that, we didn't do committees. We work session through everything and then went from there. So that's another approach I actually think I preferred. So it means a lot more meetings, but as a group and on camera, but who doesn't love a good YouTube channel? So, but I will put your food truck for August and give you that a lot of time to have it prepared as an agenda item. Any others
where are we
for
with,
July or August?
where are we with panhandling?
That is prepared and we can do public notice for July and
Okay.
August.
Okay.
And now, just to be safe, I would like to have new legal review it.
Probably should.
Well,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
because before we go through public hearing and they have to weigh in on anything, I would prefer. So, okay.
Where are we at with the special events?
That one I'm not going to get to at this month. I just know it. I have to prioritize the RFD for the growth policy. Holy
Can
buckets,
you-
819.
What is RFD again?
So it's a document basically that we're saying it's basically like putting a to bid document together for RP.
Thank you.
Great West has already sent examples from other town, not Great West. I have one example and I think it is from Boulder. So I have to see if that fits and if it fits. And then we have to appoint committee too for that project. And then the renewal of on-call planning. We have to decide if we want a whole new on-call or if we want to renew with a 1 year or if we want to renew for a 3 year. So those need to be finalized before special events.
Working with the budget.
Yes. And then it's not into contract, but we have to do floodplain, which I have all the numbers for that
When are we
from
gonna start
Jerry
discussing?
Grabentz. As soon as I get some more information in from department heads. Karen said she's really, really close on her budget. Eric's finalizing his, Officer Moore's is in, Jordan's is pretty much there, so I'm waiting on some zoning and Karen's and a couple other in general. And now these will change those into other professional services depending on how those contracts lie. Legal, I wanted to wait until this to put that portion together as well. All right. So for anything else for unscheduled? All right.
I move to adjourn.
Second that.
All right. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. We will take a break.
Right. Something.
I just wanted to introduce myself.
Nice.
Shake hands. Oh, I see that. Good to see you guys. Okay. And hello, Brandy and
Nikki and John.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Hey, John Way.
You're Dave?
I'm David, yes.
Okay.
Uh,
David Madison?
I'm David Madison, Mike.
Not yet.
Are you, is there another, something about that? What you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think there's an executive.
We have an
Session.
executive closed session.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Could, mind if I just kind of run through, since I'm just getting my feet wet on this, just kind of run through what happened tonight and make sure I.
Go for it.
What happened tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Willie's is clear to expand?
Yes.
All right. Let's see, you two will be on a committee to decide how to handle getting a school resource officer into Ennis High School.
There's already one there. This is just the agreement with the school
Okay.
for that resource officer.
And it's the same person?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay, so it's just a matter of how his time is divided. Is he the only law enforcement?
At the moment.
And they make a percentage.
Okay.
Very small. Very small.
Right, and then,
There's no sure.
is,
You can vote for a raise, but the next person gets it. That's the rule.
Yes.
and then, after how long you were changing the representation? There was no county attorney.
Nice.
You have this contract with Mr. Greenbaum.
Yes.
That just ended.
Correct. And we've just voted on to secure new legal representation. Yes, correct.
To handle everything.
I think so.
Okay. We'll just divide between those two firms? Is one of
Yeah.
them- okay.
Yeah, we've got one to represent the council and then one that does prosecution.
For what?
Newsnight does us and then Bobby does prosecution.
Right, so, because it's such a small town, you normally have a
absolutely no idea.
You have like the prosecutor, like a jail.
Correct. But yeah, this is, yeah, we're too small for that, so we have to contract.
Okay, and what's the deal with food trucks? Is there some kind of pending?
No.
Are they not permittable now? Or?
There's no ordinance now, but we've had public comment to look into that, so that's all, that's what
It was a big
Commissioner
issue.
Hardy's doing.
I know it's a big issue.
Yeah.
So was the public comment concerned or?
Concerned that there's no
ordinance.
no
Yeah,
ordinance
I
or
honestly have no
regulation.
idea.
Okay. Have food trucks been asked to leave or anything like that?
No.
I don't think so.
You can't do that.
No, I don't think
Not at
so.
this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And finally, would this be the first handling ordinance in Ennis history?
I believe so.
Is this just a sign of the times? The town's getting bigger and.
I don't know what conclusions you can draw from it, but I think there was a need.
Yeah. It's a bit of a-
We can't go into executive session.
I'm covering my back. Did you hear that answer I gave? Don't know what conclusions you may draw. Yes.
It is.
I have
Is this a
no, I
closed
have
session or is it
absolutely no idea.
It's
Closed
closed.
section.
closed? Okay.
Means everybody has to leave.
Okay.
The intent wasn't, the findings weren't set, it's the findings are supposed to be reported in meeting as to why it's closed. If it's a litigation issue or if it's a personnel issue, and if that is the reason why.
What does it say? I read it the other day. We can go into executive session for a whole host of reasons.
No, it's litigation or personnel, and it's because if it's a privacy issue and the
It
person's
outweighs the
privacy
public's
versus
right to know.
personnel. So that is supposed to be found in
Yeah.
findings of the minutes.
That is true.
Minutes of this last meeting. They just.
Yeah, that just ended.
Okay, then I guess no closed session and we'll post it for the next bit.
Okay?
Let's go watch the debate.
It's there from that. But anyway, thank you in advance. I'm sure I'll be talking to you, and please reach out to the paper if you have ideas. You bet.
Yeah, thank you very much, David.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Really? What's your name? Hi.
Is it HR though? Is that why we're here?
I'm David Maddox.
That's great.
Entirely by,
Or can we
well, I
like
grew
be
up in North
free?
Carolina, but I'm descended from,
Oh, that's.
exactly adopted
Right, but could maybe we be privy as to why, what's going on, what's happening?
If you send an email, like, with details, then it becomes public record.
Maybe
Maybe already violating the privacy. Like, it's, Lisa's right in that how it should be posted, and then you go from there. So I will readjust.
Yeah. I think she's right.
We're on here a little
There's
bit,
some wiggle
okay.
in what she says.
That's what I was just thinking.
There's, you don't have to tell them exactly what you said.
I don't know who it was.
HR, you know, as long as it.
Well, I guess my thing is maybe we just know what it's about.
I have to
Even
use small
email or without
measures
personal
that have to be
information.
going down and slowing down, so it's really, yeah.
What about including names?
I mean, I guess,
It
yeah.
seems like you're happy.
We'll have new legal that I can slip on.
Actually, yes, that is exactly what the exact sentence.
Yeah, ask legal. I wanted to ask legal about a contract.
I couldn't do it.
Why, I still want to know why 7, 4, 6, 2 has it in there as an employee, because it looks to me like the same as the judge, which is an employee, which you provide insurance. That's why I was like, well, wait a minute. Could you say, well, it says right now, therefore, my entire employer gets health insurance.
Yeah, that was where we had a lovely
I don't think
conversation about that.
But I think that's why there were other towns with that in there.
But we changed, like, I'm like,
They all come and step.
I think that's where we're getting that all.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, sir.
What's that? It's like, okay.
Yeah, I guess on the brochure, the only thing I feel, say that, one item that I feel that's not in there is like what is not included in resort tax, but that's.
You're creating a little, Kayla's like, did you read all the stuff on Facebook about resort tax? I'm like, no, I read none of it. I make it a point to never read that stuff.
But it's not.
Yeah. No, not according to Facebook.
I had a lot of people reach out to me.
Oh,
for
son
that.
of a.
Like, I think you're gonna have a whole lot more community support and community buy-in this time than.
Phillipsburg just got shut down on theirs. Their town council was 100% on board with it. And the synopsis was, I guess the overall feeling was the community was not reached out to enough, which I think you could say passes. The years, just with communication has become more difficult as everybody gets busy. It's how I kind of put it into. That's what I think it's all about personally. But.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ginger's car's here.
She's in there.
we'll have a, I guess,
Yes. You missed your thingy.
I wanted to pay for my dog license.
Oh.
I'm closed tomorrow. But then I have to pay an extra $5.
We'll wait for that.
I tried to make it today. I was showering, shaving, and preparing. But I got all the information, and I got money. I was just thinking.
She from the 40s.
Okay, cool. How was it?